With the release of Star Ocean and Divine Force, there obviously is more fuss around this series than usual, and I'm surprisingly hyped too. So for everyone who is new to this underrated JRPG series, or as excited as me about the release, I thought I would rank all the Star Ocean games because why not? I love rankings and I love Star Ocean. So here's my personal ranking of the Star Ocean games. But before we start, I want to say that this is my personal list, and I know that there are many different opinions about how to rank these games. And I know that the spot one game takes in my ranking could upset some of you guys, but as I said, how much you like or dislike a game oftentimes depends on the stage you are in your life, what you potentially experience in that time, and so many more factors. Okay, with that being said, let's get into it. Before I start with this, I want to say that I try to be as positive on this channel as possible. I love video games and I want to share my passion with you guys, talk about games and what I love about them, and maybe inspire some of you guys to try out some games you might have never heard of. But all of this does not apply when I talk about Star Ocean, integrity and faithlessness. This entry is the biggest disappointment in my entire life as a gamer and easily the worst Star Ocean in series. This game suffered from a visible low budget, but not visible in the sense of bad graphics. What I mean is you can see where Square Enix had to save money. Take the cutscenes as an example. Oh wait, what? You said cutscenes? But there are no cutscenes. Yeah, you heard right. The budget was so low that there are hardly any cutscenes in this game. Instead, most of the story is told in-game. All the characters slow down and just start to talk to each other. That takes away so much of the characters, their personalities and development, because you almost never see their faces or reactions. The few cutscenes that made it into the game are mostly a joke too. For example, every time there's a cutscene in space and a fight between two spaceships, the shield of your ship is activated, you can't see through the window, and all you see is happening inside the spaceship. You see no chase, no shooting, no explosions, no action at all. Everything is only described by the characters in the scene. That's ridiculous. And probably the worst thing about this game, no space travel. Yes, there is no point in the story where you visit other planets. Never. The two Star Oceans before made so much effort in building a rich universe and gave us the possibility to visit multiple places. In integrity and faithlessness, you will run around a lot between what feels like the same 5 areas over and over again. This is another indicator for a low budget and it made me angry back in 2016. Phew. Okay, enough ranting. Combat in Star Ocean 5 is alright overall. I mean, some of the moves and animations are exactly the same as in other Star Ocean games, but that's okay for me. The only thing I really didn't like about the combat was that all 6 characters are in battle at the same time, which leads to a total chaos at times. You know, overall this game is just not good and it hurts me every time. I could talk about so many more things here, how this game has way too many side missions with bad rewards, or how the characters are all boring and uninteresting, but that would take too long, so I'll leave it at that. Okay. So here's a short story about that game. A few years ago I worked a temporary job to earn some money after my time at the university because I wanted to move to Berlin where I live now. For a few months I went to GameStop every day to look for all the games I haven't played. One day I finally found Star Ocean First Departure on the PSP for only €15. I fell in love with this title instantly because unlike the 2 Star Oceans I played before, this time the game had a protagonist who lived on an underdeveloped planet. Star Ocean 3 and 4, the 2 games I played before that, had protagonists that are used to involve technology and eventually end up on a planet in the medieval age. So kind of the other way around. First Departure is about 3 friends trying to cure a disease that has spread in their village. They eventually meet humans from another planet and later these unlike groups of characters travel together to help each other. I won't talk too much about the story, but I will say that it's magical and pretty great. Combat in this game feels pretty good overall. I mean, yeah, it's a bit outdated and it can't compete with modern combat systems, but it's still fun today. Probably one of the strongest parts of First Departure are the characters. Not only are they mostly well written and charming, more than 10 of them are recruitable, but the most of them are optional. That creates a great sense of reward and it just makes fun to collect them. Star Ocean First Departure would be a great entry point for the series. There are a couple of different versions. The original one on the SNES, the remake called First Departure on the PSP, and then a remaster of that, First Departure R on the PS4 and Switch, which is probably the best way to play this. The Divine Force just came out, and with a full-time job and this channel I wasn't able to finish it yet, but I am like 15 hours in and dare to rank this tentatively. So far I'm enjoying the Divine Force. You can see that Square Enix put a lot more money, effort and love into this title compared to the previous one. I mean, look at the marketing campaign alone for this game. It appeared in a Sony State of Play and they advertised it way more on social media than Star Ocean 5 back in 2016. They showed so much more commitment. The Divine Force does some things really well. Combat so far is fantastic, quick and fun. That's mostly because of the Duma thing you get at the beginning. With that you can dash into your enemy, stun your foes by performing blindsides and block. Once you get the hang of it, every battle gets exciting and feels almost like a dance. But although combat is enjoyable, there are two things that raise an eyebrow. One is the AP system. I didn't really pay attention to that in the demo, but after a few hours it started to kill the fun occasionally. AP are your action points that you use for attacking. The thing is, your base is 5 points and you can only increase them by hitting an enemy you blindsided. Blindsides on the other hand are bound to another resource in battle called VP. And that one takes a bit of time to refill. So basically when you don't have enough VP you can't perform a blindside and therefore can't increase your AP, which makes you less efficient in battle as a result. Also, if you get hit, your AP decrease, which means you get a double punishment in a way. The second thing about combat that is kind of a shame, no flashy moves, at least so far. In the Divine Force you combine up to 3 different skills to a combo for each action button you have. Which is a cool system, but at the moment it lacks moves that really feel like special skills I choose to perform at the cost of MP, HP or whatever. Combat is still fun enough for me, but it's sad that the over-the-top moves with crazy special effects are gone. The story so far isn't that intriguing, but I like Raymond, Midas and Albert. Somehow I get the feeling that I won't leave the planet and the end of the plot is leaving that planet. I don't know, I hope I'm wrong, because traveling through space and different places is always the best part about Star Ocean for me. What I love about the Divine Force, however, is movement, exploration and the world itself. With Duma you can fly to places you can't reach by foot and collect stuff you can actually use, like weapons and accessories. And the places I visited so far are beautiful, especially the towns in these games are well crafted, detailed and gorgeous. This game has many aspects that are a lot of fun and I'm happy to see a massive improvement compared to Star Ocean 5, but I also get the feeling the Divine Force is missing out on its potential. The second game in the series first came out on the PS1 as Star Ocean Second Story and was then remade for the PSP as Star Ocean Second Evolution. My personal story behind this game is basically the same as for First Departure. For me personally, Second Evolution is better than First Departure in every way. The story itself is about a mysterious meteor that landed on the underdeveloped planet Expel and transforms humans and animals into creatures. And again, I won't say too much about the story because experiencing every plot point on your own is far more enjoyable than hearing me talking about it. This Star Ocean was the first one to give you a choice between 2 protagonists at the beginning of the game, which still is fairly rare in RPGs nowadays and I always love that option. Although the combat is basically the same as in First Departure, I always feel like Square Enix balanced it better in this game as in the first. And that's why I always enjoy this title more. Overall, combat in both First Departure and Second Evolution is far deeper than it may seem at first. Not only does every character play a little bit different, you also have a ton of options for battle skills, specialities and super specialities. It's super fun to experiment with different combinations to find the mix you like the most. For an older game like that, this always surprised me. The world and music of Second Evolution are just beautiful and the whole cast of characters is likable and just more fleshed out compared to the First Departure. This game is often considered the best in the series and I can totally see why. The story, world building and characters are all amazing. So amazing in fact that when I recorded gameplay for this video, I fell in love again in the first few minutes. If I have time, I will definitely play this one after the Divine Force. Star Ocean Second Evolution is an underrated gem if you ask me. Star Ocean The Last Hope has a fair amount of problems. First of all, the voice acting can be unbearable at times. And especially Limmel's voice acting is sickening. I'm sorry, but there's no other way to put this. And speaking of the characters, while I always find most of the cast likable, the character design on the other hand is a weird mix of an anime look and realistic graphics that doesn't do justice to either one of them. And still, I love this game. There is no other Star Ocean with a bigger variety of places to discover. You travel to underdeveloped planets like Glamorous, to Rogue, a planet with a medieval setting, and a huge space station called EN2. Back in my teenage years, I always wanted a sci-fi RPG that gave me a sense of a big universe with many different places to find and people to meet. This entry really did that best for me. Also, the combat in Star Ocean 4 is fun as hell. New to this is the blindside system, where you dodge an attack at the right time, get behind your enemy and deal more damage for a short time. There are some fights that are a bit too much about performing blindsides, but overall, the battles are fun. The skills are flashy and cool, and progression is mostly satisfying. Only mostly because the level cap of 200 can only be increased to 255 by earning enough battle trophies, and that was always a big bummer for me. The story is often criticized for being unoriginal and for one character being whiny for a few hours of the playtime. But I always liked how they handled the way one specific character reacts to a plot point in the first third of the game, because for the first time a character had a reasonable reaction to an event that happened. The Last Hope is not the best Star Ocean, but it will always have a special place in my heart for the things it did right. Till the End of Time was my first Star Ocean game, so of course this is special to me. Back then I borrowed it from a friend, not knowing what to expect, and showed it to my two brothers. We all fell in love instantly. We already knew Final Fantasy 7, 8 and 10 with some unique sci-fi elements, but we never saw this incredible mix of fantasy, medieval and futuristic technology in one game. I was blown away by the scope and atmosphere this Star Ocean has to offer. Describing the story properly without spoilers is pretty difficult for me, but I'll tell you what's going on at the beginning. Fate and his friend Sophia are on a vacation trip on a space shuttle cruiser with their parents. The ship is being attacked, they all get separated, and Fate crash lands on an unknown, unadvanced planet. He's then trying to find his parents and Sophia, meet some other characters and get involved in a war. Without giving away too much, I will say that the plot has two twists that are insane. One of which you can't see coming, trust me. And that last twist is where Till the End of Time kind of divided the fanbase, because it kind of made so many things obsolete in a way. I like that unexpected plot twist, and although it's a bit silly, it's also brave and refreshing, in a way. But I can totally understand everyone who hates it. You have all the right to do that. What also blew me away as a kid and still does today is the combat. This entry has the most ridiculously cool moves in the entire series, a great and lovable cast of characters that all feel and play differently in battles, and everything about combat is just extremely fun. One thing I want to mention is as simple as I was as a teenager and what I adore about Till the End of Time and The Last Hope. The numbers are insane. I mean, this was the first JRPG that let me level to 255 and you can deal a crazy amount of damage. You know, I'm a simple man. The higher the numbers, the better. At least sometimes. The worlds you visit are beautiful. Maybe not graphics wise, but they are all fleshed out and unique. Plus, the dungeons in this game are always trying to come with a twist to keep you engaged, and mostly they succeed with that. I mean, in one dungeon you have to ride different turtles to get to the exit. In another you get a flute and can play 4 songs to open the doors. So cool and creative in my opinion. Yeah, you know, playing this game is always a blast and there's so much more to this game I could talk about, but it's probably best if you experience that on your own. So, that's it. What is your favorite Star Ocean and why? Tell me in the comments, I would be happy to talk to you about it. Also, I would be super happy if you leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this video. That way you won't miss any future reviews, top lists and other fun gaming videos. I have planned a few cool things for the next few weeks and I hope you guys like it. Thanks so much for watching, have a nice day and I'll see you in the next video.